This right here is my racing sim. It's been through a few revisions in the last year or so, including a house move. It started off with some fairly entry-level gear. I was brand new into the world of sim racing, had a great time, and since then I've been enjoying upgrading and tinkering around with new gear. That is what this series is about, and today we have several more upgrades which I'm very excited about, so let's get into it. Right after this quick word from today's sponsor.
This video is brought to you by bobkeys.com. You guys know the drill. You've just finished building your brand new PC, you boot it up, and bam, that hideous Activate Windows watermark appears. And the worst part is you forgot to budget $200 for an activation key from Microsoft because you spent it all on RGB. But that's okay, because you don't need to spend $200. You can pick one up from today's video sponsor, bobkeys.com, for a tenth of the price. The best part is you can use my code TT25 for 25% off, which takes this already cheap Windows 10 Pro key from around $22 to $16. If you're in the UK, that's £13. You place your order, your activation code gets added to your orders page, you whack it into the Windows activation screen, and boom, you're fully activated, no more watermarks being burned into your retinas. TT25 for 25% off, link in description.
Okay, so shout out to Moza and Next Level Racing for sending over the new gear. We have the RS V2 wheel, the CRP pedals, and then we have the HF8 haptic pad from Next Level Racing. This is apparently going to simulate things like engine vibrations and rumble strips, so very interested to try this out. Oh, we also do have a couple of extra bits as well, which we'll come to later. Oh, by the way, since the last video, we ended up switching out the 3D panels. So before we had some white panels here, and I don't know, everything just looked super bright with the white lighting. And we have instead switched them for these black ones, which are actually the same ones I use in my setup. Oh, and then we also have a brand new PC for the sim racing rig. So this is a limited edition Asus Evangelion build that we put together a couple of months ago. And yeah, it's got an i9, it's got an RTX 4090, 64 gigabytes of RAM. It's an absolute beast. Now, I think it's widely accepted by the sim racing community that the pedals are probably the first piece of gear you should look at upgrading. Basically, the better the pedals, the more consistent your lap times. These are the ones I've been using for the past year, the Moza SRP light pedals. These actually came included with the R5 bundle. I do have the clutch and brake upgrade kit on here as well, and I mean, despite being the most budget option, they've been pretty great. Today, however, we're upgrading to the flagship offering, the CRP. So what's the difference between these and the most budget option? A few things. For one, they look a hell of a lot nicer. We've got some swanky looking gold accents going on. And just in general, the build quality and materials just feel much more premium. For example, it's aluminium alloy instead of steel. However, most importantly, these are using load cells as opposed to Hall effect sensors. What does this mean, I hear you ask? And yes, I did have to consult Reddit. Alright, so how Hall effect sensors work is they use a magnetic field to measure the pedal position. So there's a little magnet in here, and when you press it, the magnet moves relative to the sensor, and then that signal gets sent off to the software. Load cells, on the other hand, measure the force applied to the pedal rather than the position, and humans are pretty good at modulating pressure, so in theory this should lead to some much more consistent lap times, if you're actually good, which I'm not, but... Now, I have to give a shout out to GT Omega's new Prime pedal plate. This is actually included as standard with the Prime cockpit now, if you're buying it in 2024. But anyway, it's made of this super thick metal, absolutely zero flex, way more solid than the original one that I'm using at the moment, which is great because these are some hefty pedals. Let's try them out, shall we? Oh, I did also ask GT Omega to send this. So this is their floor plate, and you basically just put this on the base of the cockpit, and it just helps to tidy things up a little bit and make things look a bit cleaner. Okay, so I think one important thing to note here is that load cell pedals, they don't necessarily feel any different. The accelerator and the brake, for example, they feel pretty similar to how they were before. The clutch, on the other hand, does feel different. This is actually a 3-stage clutch, so I can feel the point at which it engages, and it feels really realistic. But the main thing here is that the input is being measured from pressure rather than just position. And what that means is that I can find, say, 50% of the brakes when I'm going around corners, and I can learn to hit that every single time and kind of modulate around it. So yeah, it's definitely going to lead to much faster lap times. Now, Moza do include a bunch of extra springs inside the box, so you can kind of customize things to your liking. I'm definitely going to have to experiment with that a little bit over the next few weeks, and probably give you guys a more in-depth update in the next video. But yeah, so far so good. Next up, we have a new wheel, the RS V2. This is Moza's flagship round racing wheel. The current one I have is the flat-bottomed ES wheel that came included with the R5 bundle. That one was 11 inches in diameter, although I did do the ES wheel mod, which increases this to 12 inches. The RS V2, on the other hand, is 13 inches in diameter, so much closer to something you'd find in a real car, and the construction is noticeably higher quality. We've got real leather, forged carbon, dual magnetic paddle shifters, rev indicator LEDs, as well as a bunch of knobs and buttons that you can assign to anything you want. So yeah, if you're someone who's into driving road cars, drifting, or rally driving, this is pretty much the one to get. And in terms of actually switching it out, all of Moza's wheelbases have the same quick release, so it only takes a few seconds. Now I've got the R16 base on my rig, so 16 Newton meters of peak torque. You could in theory use this wheel with the R5, it is compatible. Just bear in mind it is a much heavier wheel, so ideally you need a bit more power in your wheelbase to provide adequate feedback, otherwise it's just going to feel a bit lifeless. Let's take it for a spin. Now one of the things I love about sim racing is not just the racing aspect, but also the immersion. Sometimes I just like to hop on one of the beautiful maps that modded Assetto Corsa has to offer, and yeah, there's just something about having a full 13-inch size wheel that just makes it feel like you're driving a real car. Now, as far as feel goes, I really can't fault this thing. I mean, it's using real leather, so it feels super soft. All the buttons and dials feel very tactile as well. And there's a lot of them. Like, I can bind anything I want, really. I've got my lights on this one, my camera on this one. And like I mentioned earlier, obviously this is a round wheel, so if you're someone that's into drifting or rally driving, then it's great for that. I'm not particularly good at either of those. But yeah, I'm loving this thing so far. It's a nice change from the usual GT style wheel that I'd have on the rig. It's now time to move on to a more subtle, immersive type of upgrade, a haptic pad. This is the HF8 from Next Level Racing. It's a seat pad that you can lay on top of whatever chair you're using, whether it be a racing or flight sim. And then there's 8 vibration motors inside, placed in several different positions to emulate things like the engine, gear changes, and even helping you feel when the wheels are losing grip. And it's not just using a simple audio output to drive the motors, at least not when you're using it on PC. No, there is a piece of software which instead reads the telemetry directly from the game you're playing and then uses that to provide detailed feedback through vibrations. Alright, let's hook it up and take it for a test drive. I'm actually really interested to try this thing. So I did have to spend quite a while in the software to really fine-tune things and get everything dialed in. I think I'm happy with where it's at right now. And I have to say, it's actually really freaking cool. Like, I can feel all the sensations from the road. I can feel those rumble strips right there. I can feel when I shift gear, and you can even feel things like wheel slippage as well, which is actually quite helpful. Now, of course, the alternative to something like this would be bass shakers, but they're just not an option for everyone. I'm in an apartment, I just can't have bass shakers on my rig, so this is like the perfect alternative because it's completely silent. Is it going to make you faster around the track? Probably not, if we're being honest, but it does add that extra layer of immersion on top of everything else that we've got going on to really sell the whole experience. Yeah, I'm definitely keeping this thing on the rig from now on. Now, I should probably mention that there are 2 different pieces of software that you can use to run this thing. The first is Next Level Racing's own HFS program. Now, this had some pretty negative feedback from the community upon initial release. People weren't really happy with it. And so SimHub, which is more of a community-driven piece of software, stepped in to save the day, and it's what most people I've seen online recommend to use. Now, to be fair, Next Level Racing have updated the software to apparently be much better, so I'll definitely have to test it out some more and compare over the next few weeks. Now, I realize that some of you might be watching this video and thinking, well, Josh, these upgrades are cool and all, but they're very expensive. How can I get into sim racing on the cheap? That is where the R3 bundle comes in. People have been begging Moza to release this for like the last 6 months, and it's finally here. This is an all-in-one PC and Xbox compatible racing bundle that comes with a direct drive wheelbase, wheel, and pedals for $400. That's only $50 more than the Logitech G923, which is a gear-driven wheel, and by comparison, kind of just feels like a toy. So yeah, if you're someone who's been wanting to get into sim racing, but you don't want to spend a ton of money, it's definitely a cool option. I'll drop the link down below in the description if you want to check it out, along with all the other products in today's video. Alright, that is it for today's sim racing upgrade episode. Drop a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you all in the next one.